analyses. My next guest wrote an op-ed for The Hill, arguing that Lebanon's failure to disarm Hezbollah keeps doing greater damage as the conflict with Israel grinds ahead. Joining me live now is Hussain Abdul Hussain, a research fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. He's also the author of the book, The Arab Case for Israel. Hussain, thank you so much for being with us. So I think my first question to you is really, what is the state of Lebanon supposed to do when it comes to dealing with this problem for them, Hezbollah, which continues to drag them into conflict very, very regularly? We've talked about the humanitarian crisis that Lebanon is experiencing, but the fact is the Lebanese armed forces, the LAF, is no match to Hezbollah. Hezbollah is probably the largest non-state military actor in the world. So what are Lebanon's options? It's tried to negotiate, or it is currently trying to negotiate separately with Israel, but Israel's beef is not with the Lebanese people, it's with Hezbollah specifically.
Hi, Zain. Well, the point here is that there's been an outstanding UN Security Council Resolution 1701 that was approved in 2006 to end a round of war at the time. And it stipulates that Hezbollah must be disarmed. So it really looks simple. If Hezbollah or the Lebanese state managed to enforce 1701, then we wouldn't have been in this war, we wouldn't have been in the 2024 war. So this is the sticking issue. Now, as you said, the Lebanese armed forces might not have the capability of taking on Hezbollah, but there are many things that the state of Lebanon and the leadership of the oligarchs, the chieftains of different sects, there's a lot that they can do. They can come together and they can form a consensus wherein they tell Hezbollah, that's it, you've been dragging us to so many wars, and now is the time for you to surrender your arms to the Lebanese armed forces. They did this in 2005. They forced the army of Assad at the time to withdraw from Lebanon. If they can replicate this consensus one more time, I think they can force Hezbollah to surrender its arms.
But what's interesting is that, to your point, and also to the fact that just a year and a half ago, Israel, the IDF, was also pounding Hezbollah targets within Lebanon before the ceasefire. Despite all of that, Hezbollah does seem to be remarkably capable, remarkably resilient. Almost seems as though I guess with any terrorist group, this is the case. No matter how many times you defang them, destroy their capabilities. We saw the pager explosions, for example. We know that Nasrallah was killed. Despite all of that, it seemed to somehow still rise up and become that much more strong and capable. So what is Israel learning? It thought that it had completely, not necessarily defeated Hezbollah, but severely weakened it a year and a half ago. And they are still proving that much more resilient. So aside from Lebanon, Israel itself is also learning a lot here too.
Well, exactly like you said, Zain, this is Israel can weaken Hezbollah 80–90%, but then the last mile should be done by the Lebanese government. Israel cannot do the job of the Lebanese government for it. And it's unfortunate that the Lebanese government wasted 14 or 15 months just pretending that it had concluded disarming Hezbollah. Actually, the cabinet declared in a statement that the area south of Litani River, all the way south to the border with Israel, was disarmed, that there was no Hezbollah left there. And lo and behold, Hezbollah just started a war from that specific area. So there's a lot of politicking that goes on inside of Lebanon, and this distracts the government from the main goal. I think this should be the only point on the agenda and the focus of the Lebanese state: disarm Hezbollah. And until that happens, I don't think they should be engaging in any other item of business. Unfortunately, they haven't been doing this. Now, they have one more opportunity, maybe relying somehow on the Israeli military muscle. If you can get the Lebanese to muster some political pressure on Hezbollah, I think the two sides can work together and make sure that the militia is disarmed once and for all.
One of the biggest problems that Lebanon has, though, is that Hezbollah is so entrenched in Lebanese society. They are a military group, they're a political group. They offer social services, obviously, to the Lebanese people. You know, they have suffered politically. You know, there are a lot of Shia Lebanese who no longer support Hezbollah because they are also tired of being dragged into conflict a number of times, as I've said. But, you know, for the IDF, how do they do both at the same time? How do they both try to sort of degrade Hezbollah militarily while at the same time also negotiating with the Lebanese government, the sort of very weak and fragmented Lebanese government, knowing that as they try to degrade Hezbollah, there are of course going to be casualties with ordinary sort of Lebanese people who don't even want Hezbollah in their country and are suffering the consequences every day?
Well, look, on March 2nd, the Lebanese cabinet, including Shia ministers who are in the bloc of Speaker Nabih Berri, who is an ally of Hezbollah, they voted on the resolution that the Lebanese armed forces must disband Hezbollah militarily. So you can see here, even someone like Berri, who has been Speaker of Parliament since 1992, is a very savvy politician. He has his finger on the Shia pulse. Even Berri agreed to this item of disbanding Hezbollah, keeping the political party, but just disbanding whatever military that these guys have. So this tells us that if Berri is going against Hezbollah, then the Shia are really tired of this militia. Now, can the Shia themselves stand up to Hezbollah and disarm it? I doubt they can do that. They need all the support they can get, whether from the Israeli military, whether from the Lebanese state, the Lebanese cabinet in terms of politics, even including regional capitals, you know, Cairo and Riyadh and Abu Dhabi. And all these guys have leverage inside of Lebanon that they can help the Lebanese make Hezbollah surrender. Now, whether Hezbollah surrenders the easy way or the hard way, that's anybody's guess. Everyone hopes that Hezbollah will do the right thing and eventually surrender. Maybe if they see that the Iranian regime has weakened, then you know these Lebanese will change their mind and think, okay, this is a lost cause, and it's much better for them to surrender their arms. But until this minute, I think maybe some of them are still betting that Iran will survive, that it will come back. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, Hussain Abdul Hussain, thank you so much for your perspective. We're grateful.